everybody. Welcome in to the pilot episode of the Fantasy Addicts Fantasy Football Podcast, where we know you got a fever.
I got a fever.
And the only prescription is some of that sweet, sweet fantasy football knowledge. All right, today I am your host, Mike, with my co-host, Nick.
That is me, Nick Barnes.
Yep.
Good to see you.
Happy to be here. Glad to be part of the team, huh?
It'll be an adventure.
All right, and today we are going to be doing a rookie mock draft. We actually did one earlier, so we're going to be going through kind of the order of how the rookies are going in the mock draft. I know that some people had their rookie mock draft shortly after the NFL draft, but for our league that we do, we were actually in multiple leagues together. Nick and I are in Dynasty, Keeper. We also do redraft leagues. And for our Dynasty League, we decided to wait just with the things that are going on with COVID, with the things that are, whether there may or may not be a supplemental draft. We might touch on that a little bit later. We decided to hold off. Usually with a lot of our leagues, we do like to do it. I think last year we did our redraft league. We did it the day before the NFL season started.
I think we did it, the Sunday before the season, and the season started on Thursday.
Yeah, and we do like that. Not every league does it. I know sometimes people are itching and ready to go, but for us, there are a lot of things that can happen leading up to that. So you might have a good player that gets hurt in practice, or gets hurt in the preseason when there is a preseason. You see that, year in and year out. So it is something that I personally have enjoyed in our leagues, is waiting.
Yeah, you hate to see somebody take somebody in the first round, and then the week later they get hurt in the third preseason game for nothing. And then your whole season kind of is shot.
Yeah, was it Jerick McKinnon? I think that happened to be the one year. Definitely was an early injury. I'm not sure if it was before the season. Yeah. So hey, this is a comeback, man. This is a year.
It is what it is.
All right, but we'll talk about the rookies. So
You ready to let the dogs out?
let's get to it. All right. So we used the sleeper app for our Dynasty League. I've also played on Yahoo, different other platforms, but the Sleeper League is nice for Dynasty because you can keep it going all year long. You can keep those waivers open. You can decide when you to open them. We actually opened them after the NFL draft.
We did.
There hasn't been a lot of movement. There was, once we opened them up again, a couple things that people did right away. But other than that, it's usually just myself or, maybe Nick.
Just stalking the waiver wire.
Yeah.
They're going to add new players at some point, right?
So I did get Jalen Hurd, which I'm excited about, especially with Debo having a foot
Nobody's
injury,
excited about Jalen Hurd.
There's one, and it's me.
It's you.
That's I'm addicted. I'm just looking Jalen Hurd. Yes,
More Jalen Hurd, please.
So if you were wondering the level of addiction, that's where we're at.
It's too far.
The deepest of dives.
It's too far.
So we're going to start off the 1-1 in the Dynasty Rookie Draft. I did a mock draft. In our actual league, will be drafting from the 4th spot, so I just selected that, and then the rest was computer-generated. But many of the mocks that you're seeing right now, everybody's excited for the running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
C-E-H.
C-E-H. Yeah, I've heard the last, Hilaire, different ways to pronounce his last name, but C-E-H. Drafted to the Kansas City Chiefs, a high-powered offense.
Yeah, for sure.
Nick, you actually tell them what picks you have, because Nick has just been collecting
all of
first-round
them?
picks.
I like picks. They're interesting, and you get to work throughout the offseason to, see what rookies you want, see if you can get any advantages, just going on the deep dive. So I don't even remember anymore. I think I have the 2nd pick, the 6th pick, and then the 10th and 11th pick, or 9th and 10th
Did you not
pick.
trade up for the 3rd? You don't have the 3rd?
No, I traded up from the 3rd to the 2nd.
To the 3rd to the 2nd. Okay, yeah. I got you. So you can get your guy, but
I had
it
no
looks
picks
like
to 4 first-round picks.
You may not be able. The one man you may not be able to get, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I'll let you talk about kind of why people are excited for him. So
it's an exciting player that didn't get too much hype kind of out of the gate, but he just kind of fits the scheme, and it seems like all the Kansas City Chiefs are all pumped to get him there. It seems like Mahomes was a big fan of him, and Andy Reid obviously was a fan of him. So it's kind of just one of those niche fits, and it all makes sense, and it's just a high-powered offense. So it's gotta be a good spot.
Yeah, and it was definitely a guy. It was the only running back taken in the 1st round. At the end of the 1st round,
For sure.
was a guy that they wanted. You heard Joe Burrow, the number 1 pick in the draft, talk him up as being. I think he said he was the best football player he'd ever played with.
Right.
Who did Andy Reid comp him to? Do you remember? Was it
Westbrook?
Westbrook, yeah. I think he said he watched his tape and felt like he was a better version of Westbrook. So that's pretty high praise.
Yeah.
They want to use him. It hurts me because I'm a Damian Williams owner in our Dynasty league. Again, so I'll make the case against CEH a little bit. So I got his measurements. He's 5'7", 207 pounds. So he's a little bit smaller guy.
He's small.
Again, we've seen small guys, though, that hold up and have good careers in the NFL. But
Absolutely.
it's still something that, when you take into consideration, are they going to have him running up the middle? They're not a team that really pounds the rock very much. They're definitely more a run and gun.
That's because usually they score in about 4 plays.
Yeah, when Pat Mahomes, who is my dynasty quarterback, is just dropping dimes.
Too many.
The only team
Too
to
many.
run 10 plays and have 10 touchdowns. But yeah, so Damian Williams, he is a guy. People, again, I listen to a lot of the experts. They're just down on him. They've always thought he was just a guy, and I feel like his tape looks pretty good. He looks fast on tape. If you ever watched his tape,
I try not to.
Should have been the Super
There's
Bowl
not
MVP.
that much of it.
I'm trying to just make the case to make myself feel better. Again, I think that it is not outside the realm of possibilities, though, that he does still have a role at the start of the year.
Stop trying to make fetch a thing.
I
this is a
don't
drive.
know. Let's see. I got this one.
Wrong.
So I might be wrong. Damian Williams might be nobody. Clyde Edwards-Helaire might be great. He might be. I think he's. There's a good chance that he is worthy of that 1-1 pick. All right. So now, if Nick, he did trade up from the 3 to the 2 spot. So who are you going to take with the number 2 pick? And let me tell you, if it's who I think it is, it would be the same as the person that the computer projected as the second pick in my rookie mock draft.
Yeah, I think you got to go JT here, right?
Yeah.
He's a stud. He's arguably the 1-1. I mean, what's the worst thing about him we've heard is he's got a lot of mileage.
Yeah. So that is Jonathan Taylor, and Nick is...
Yeah, I'm gonna get one for show.
You getting that for sure?
I'm getting that for show.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good pick. Honestly, I kind of like him more than CEH. I like that he's just a bigger guy. He went to about the best spot that you could possibly imagine, because one of the kind of critiques of him before the draft was that he just needs to run behind a good line, and if he has a good line, he can be phenomenal. And he goes to the Colts, which have the best line in the NFL. So you're not going to get a better pairing. Again, kind of like...
Too bad they don't have Andrew Luck.
Kind of like with CEH, there is a guy who does play football who is a running back on that team, Marlon Mack.
Who?
Marlon Mack,
Unfamiliar.
he's a decent football player. He's not the best running back, but I think he's eclipsed 1,000 yards. And again, he's been running behind a good line. They want to run.
Sure.
But again, I think that Marlon Mack might, again, have a role, and it might take a little while for JT to really become the main guy. Also, Nemi Hines, the other running back, who he's going to be the pass catcher. You've seen a couple reports where the Colts have talked him up and kind of talked about how they want to get him involved in throwing the ball. I don't know that I believe it. We'll see. But he is a guy who is there, so just something to consider.
Who are you betting money on in that backfield, though?
Oh, I'm taking Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Again, I'd probably be my 1-1 pick if I was going. And then again, I like CEH. I don't know. But again, you're right. It's like, how often do they even need to run the ball?
Does the longevity of the quarterback situation there affect your decision at all?
So, again, with my man, Pat Mahomes, Money Mahomes, getting the 10-year deal, and again, the way that contracts are, that could look a lot more, he could be there for 5 years and then all kinds of things where you never know all the loopholes, and I'd have to really look at his contract, but
Right.
he's going to be there. They like him.
Yeah.
As they should. I like
they're
him.
fans.
I don't want to trade him for anything. He's the rookie of the year and then the NFL Super Bowl MVP, well, again, which should have been Damian Williams, but he's very good at football.
Apparently, this is a Damian Williams podcast now.
And it gives you faith that, he did have a couple little injuries. That's probably what prevented me from going back-to-back champion in our Dynasty League. But the patella there, that kneecap gave him some trouble. But he's back and looking healthy. Good quarterback. I'm a fan. All right, we'll jump to number 3. So number 3 in this mock draft was J.K. Dobbins. So J.K. Dobbins is interesting to me. I'll talk about him because I'm the guy who's drafting at the 4th. And if J.K. Dobbins falls to me, I'm almost hoping he goes before I go, just so I don't have to make the choice between the stud wide receivers and J.K. Dobbins.
I get it.
Man, I think that Ingram's a good running back. So Dobbins got drafted. He's going to the Ravens. Ravens are a good team. They have a very high-powered offense. They looked really good this year. A lot of things went right for them this year, though. They could have some regression. I think Lamar, their quarterback, I think he's going to run in more touchdowns than he did this previous year, so he's going to vulture those touchdowns. He's basically just, he's more than a running back because he can throw. He makes good throws, I thought. But
again, they're a team that will go with whatever's working.
Yeah.
And whatever works for them is running the ball all the time.
So another thing about the Ravens, I think they are going to throw more this year. They have a couple rookie receivers that they took. Hollywood Brown, who was the first wide receiver drafted in last year's NFL draft. He had injuries throughout the year, so hopefully he's coming back. He's healthy. He might get more involved. So there are some things. They might throw more. They might run less. They've got Ingram, who's a good running back. There's debate about whether he's going to get overtaken this year. A lot of people think that Dobbins next year might be his year. He might be good this year, but great next year. So he's a guy, again, that I think it depends on your team a little bit. If you're definitely going for the win this year, you still might be good with him. But if you're setting up for next year, that's kind of where I'm at. If I took Dobbins, I might then adjust my draft strategy to kind of set up a little more for next year.
If you buy into talent wins, then you're in for JK.
Yeah, and they spent the draft capital on him.
For sure.
He was a high pick. So I think Dobbins, again, there's a good chance. There's a lot of chance that he's got a high ceiling and things could go really well. So he was the 3.
Yep.
All right. So now we'll move on. So this is a pick that when I did the mock, I actually did pick. So I took CeeDee Lamb, and I like CeeDee Lamb. I just think that the upside of having a stud wide receiver in a class where, again, some people will make an argument that Jerry Jeudy's better, but
Jerry Jeudy.
CeeDee Lamb is just, he looks athletic, the way he moves. I heard a story about him early when I was doing my research about the first time he stepped onto a baseball diamond, he hit a home run. He's just one of those guys that's just he's just great at sports. Yeah, just naturally athletic. He's gifted. I saw a video of him recently running routes. He had the helmet on and no shirt. He looked a little undersized, but that's not necessarily bad for a guy coming in because you put on that muscle, you kind of mature just as you're going. So again, I'll jump back though. So I'll give you the measurements for Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's 5'11", 219 pounds. J.K. Dobbins is 5'10", 212 pounds. So again, both of those guys, bigger
Relatively
running
close.
backs. They're going to pound the rock a little bit more. CeeDee Lamb is 6'2", 198 pounds. So he's got good height, good weight. Again, a little bit light, but again, I think he can put on a little bit of weight, a little muscle. And again, he's just a talented guy. He was a lot of, before the draft, people's number 1 wide receiver on their board. And then afterwards, everybody's kind of like, the Cowboys, I don't know. He's going to have to compete with Amari Cooper. Michael Gallup's good. And as people dove in and did research, I think it was it Randall Cobb that the Cowboys had that they got rid of had, I think, 80-plus targets. And so a lot of those targets are opened up. Right. They got rid of Jason, the Iron Man Witten. So CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, I like that.
I like that. I am a fan. So that's, again, if Dobbins falls to me, I'm going to have a decision to make between CD and JK. But likely JK goes at number 3, and I'll probably try and take the best wide receiver in a class of stud wide receivers.
Yeah, it kind of, shows in this draft how unfortunate the draft went. There's so many juicy spots, all the mock drafts. You get excited about certain, players in certain situations, and 2 people fell into ideal situations that you would, check off. I like that spot.
Yeah, there was a lot of okay spots. There wasn't too many phenomenal ones. And again, this was one of the big surprises of the NFL draft, and everybody was locked down watching from home.
Right.
That was one that was kind of got the Cowboys.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And again, a lot of people think they just didn't want the Eagles to have him, and that's just the Jerry Jonesiest kind of thing. And I love it.
That is what he is.
But again, when people dove in, they found out that there are a lot of targets. It is a high-powered offense. Dak's a good quarterback. He really had a good kind of breakout, breakout-ish year.
Dak threw for what, 4,500 or 5,000 yards still last year? I mean, he still threw a lot.
Yeah, and he did sign his franchise already. So, again, hopefully that'll be all good, and they might have to do some.
They're going to pay Dak.
Yeah. Well, they've paid everybody else, and which makes you think that maybe they get out from Amari next year and CD really takes a step forward because he's got a big contract, but there are some outs.
I see that more likely than anything. I mean, get out of the contract, sign Dak long term. Now you have Dak, Zeke, and 2 young stud wide receivers, and just hope for the best.
Sounds like it should work. Also worth noting that they have a new head coach. They signed McCarthy, right?
Yep.
So former Packers head coach. And why that's important is he has supported an offense. Yeah, go Bears. So we are Bear fans. We'll just get that out of the way. We're from the Chicagoland area. We're coming to you from Rockford, Illinois. And yeah, it's just so we have watched multiple games where he seemed to be a good coach. Things didn't go well for the end of his coaching career in Green Bay, though. Him and Aaron Rodgers just
not great.
Nobody likes Aaron Rodgers because he is the worst. So
Aaron Rodgers also doesn't like anybody else.
Aaron, yeah, just hope that his season goes awful. And apparently everyone in Green Bay hates him because
I hope they stay healthy and play terrible.
Oh, they were completely unwilling to get him any wide receiver help, and they drafted his replacement in the first round.
Literally drafted all defensive players.
Just the worst.
Every position except quarterback.
Oh, so yeah, their new coach, LaFleur, making moves to get rid of Aaron.
Cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur.
Yeah. So again, so that's about where I'm at with CD. Again, he's got a coach who's supported teams that have had 3 successful fantasy wide receivers. Psyched to get him. I would just hope that he can have that kind of Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins type of ceiling. And it might not come in the first year, but I think he can still be useful for your team in the first year.
Yeah, I mean, he might fit into that. What we thought Gallup was going to be longer term, in that 1,000 to 1,200 yard range, handful of touchdowns, and Gallup could regress into more, niche role.
Well, Nick is the Gallup owner in our Dynasty League. Talk about Gallup just quickly.
I liked him enough that I traded him.
Oh, did you trade him?
I did trade him.
Who'd you trade him to?
I think I traded him to Andrew.
What'd you get?
Everything. As per usual.
Oh, tell the people. We got to know.
I don't remember.
You don't remember? All right, you can look it up.
Let me look it up here.
I'll jump into the next one. CD, he's a stud. So the next one that went off the board was DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift, a lot of people had him as their number 1 running back before the draft, and this is maybe the most unfortunate landing spot for any really talented player in this draft. He goes to the Detroit Lions, so again, we already mentioned we're Bears fans. And the Lions are a team you like to have in your division just because they are bad at football. They're not a good team. They got Matt Patricia, their coach, who came from the Patriots. And a lot of teams that have hired coaches that have come from the Patriots, they don't turn into the Patriots. They,
never do.
No one's been super successful. Matt Patricia also just in watching kind of his press interviews and things like that, just seems like, I'll use the word abrasive, like an abrasive guy.
Abrasive person.
And he's just sometimes, again, he's got a little bit of that Adam Gase kind of, I don't really care about fantasy, which, again, you're an NFL coach, you're trying to win. But those guys, I think why they're not good for fantasy is they don't seem to utilize their most talented players really effectively and to their fullest ability. And that also makes your team worse at football. So they're guys that will win a couple games, but, again, I think that they could win more. So the thing with DeAndre Swift, again, the Lions are bad. That's the first thing.
Lions are bad.
Historically bad at running. I think that Kerryon Johnson, was it last year, was the first running back to rush for over 100 yards. Was either this last year or 2 years ago. Was the first running back for the Lions to rush over 100 yards since, I think, Bush, who ended up playing for the Saints.
Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush, there it is. So, again, not great at running the ball. And the other problem is that Kerryon Johnson's still there. So, Kerryon Johnson is a good running back. He went pretty high in drafts last year, but he gets hurt. So, it sounds like he's probably going to be ready for the season and coming back and playing healthy. And we know that this is just a thing that if you've played fantasy, if you've listened to the other analysts, a biggest predictor of injury is previous injury. So if a guy's been hurt in the past, sometimes they re-aggravate those things. Sometimes just kind of your body adapts and maybe a thing heals a certain way so that it throws off your mechanics. But Kerryon Johnson has been hurt in the past, so it's possible he gets hurt again. But if he doesn't, he is a talented running back, and he's going to get carries. Of all the people that Matt Patricia, he just seemed to hate everybody on his team, but I think he liked Kerryon Johnson a little bit. Like, what do you feel about that?
I'm muted.
Oh,
I hope somebody that I don't like takes Swift because it's not good for anybody. It's not a run-focused team. You already have another running back there that's not terrible. Like he's not droppable or tradable. He's good enough to roster. So you're automatically kind of capping that, backfield.
Yeah.
I mean, all these spots, I guess, are going to kind of running back by committee anyway. But if that's the spot, I don't want a running back by committee in Detroit.
Yeah, and the other thing is just I think I heard that carry on next year they could maybe get cut bait with him and let him test free agency.
Yeah.
But for this coming year, yeah, you worry about the landing spot. But again, he's a guy that if talent wins out, he can really get a lot of volume. He could be the guy in that offense. So anytime you can get a good running back in who's the main guy for his offense, you can take a chance on it.
Right.
Cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur.
All right.
Just had to play one more.
So what does this trade say?
Let's see. You got.
I got another first-round pick.
Okay.
And then I gave away Gallup and a second-round pick next year.
Oh, look at you.
Great success.
First round. Bamboozling people out there, huh?
Yeah, first-round team 10. So
I don't know. So Michael Gallup could have a decent year. And again, it could be, I'm predicting that they get rid of Amari, but they could have Michael Gallup, they could get rid of him and he could go somewhere and be a really successful guy.
It was more of, I still feel like I traded to 90 to 95% of his actual value. I mean, to where if Lamb didn't go there, then, I still got almost the same I would have gotten anyway.
Well, I actually liked Gallup a lot before Lamb went there and did not, see that was going to be the way that it shook out in the draft. It's not who I had predicted them taking. So I had made some offers for him and kind of feel like I might have dodged a bullet a little bit, especially when I get his more talented, younger counterpart, CeeDee Lamb, in this draft.
I mean, I think he's going to be there for you.
He should be. Again, if somebody reaches for him, we'll go on. But the next running back that was off the board at the 1-6 is Cam Akers. So,
and I think this is kind of an interesting one.
I'll let you take Cam. You talk about him.
So it depends on what you buy into. Do you buy into the Rams going full-blown RBBC, like full-blown committee? I just don't see it based on history. If Akers goes there and is the stud that he looked like he was at Florida behind a terrible line, then why would you not just give your rookie that you're paying not a ton of money to the ball all the time?
Yeah, and the thing about Akers is one of the reasons that he, kind of one of the things that was pointed out when I was doing, again, my pre-draft analysis was that he was at a school where he was running behind a very poor line, and that kind of brought down his numbers in his
which he will be again
box scores, and then he goes to a place with another poor line.
Yeah.
So again, he's a guy who's used to it, and then maybe he can overcome. But they have Darrell Henderson, who I'm not sure if he was a 3rd or 4th round pick last year, and people were taking him high in rookie drafts and kind of expecting him to maybe overtake Gurley if Gurley had an injury. People were excited about him, and he really didn't materialize. He didn't have that many carries, didn't have that many yards. I think the report was that he could catch the ball, but wasn't really a workhorse guy. But he's going to be around, and he's probably going to be given a chance. Other one they have there is Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown's more of a pound the rock kind of guy. He did get some goal line carries. He might take away some goal line touches. He is on my dynasty team, and it's like, do I want to keep? Maybe he's the guy. But again, he's on the Rams, and who knows? But the offense, they've shown flashes of being a good offense. They've got a coach that many people believe is a very good coach. So they might have chances to score points. And, Goff's one of those guys. He can be a little up and down. He'll have a good game, and then he'll disappear. So Cam Akers, again, another guy that I'm not real excited about, that I don't really want to take just because, again, he's got a bad line. There's other guys that, you're not expecting to beat him out, but they're there, and they can take touches.
Cam's a guy that I hate at 4, but I love at 6.
Interesting. All right. So,
and we do have a couple chats in here by B Bakey. I think you need more toys on your desk, and there are not enough boxes.
Well, once you all like and subscribe, and we start getting that YouTube money, then we can buy all kinds of toys for the desk.
Exactly. It'll just be littered on the walls.
We'll be coming to you from a roller coaster in Florida. Yeah.
All right. So who next? So who went next in your draft?
All right, next in the draft.
By the way,
we were going.
that Gallup pick, so Gallup and a future second for the number 6 pick. So I get the 6th overall pick. So this
overall.
pick.
All right. And again, I think that, again, with the rookie draft too, you never know how it's going to shake out. And N'Keal Harry, people were high on last year. I think he went as the 1 or 2 in a lot of leagues and got an injury, didn't really materialize. And now Tom Brady's gone. And, is Cam going to be the guy? Things like that. I
almost like it better without Tom Brady there.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take. Get the New England fans to come and just blow up the chat and tell you you're wicked stupid. But
no, they're going to be more mad that you just said that.
Yeah.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard.
I don't think we need to move to the basement.
No,
to be Bakey, that's what should happen.
So, for all you out there, B. Bakey is Nick's significant other who's just throwing the shade from the upstairs.
You got a boo drop on there?
Oh, I got all kinds of them. So, let's see. Here's one for her.
Why are you the way that you are?
And I said that the other day to her.
Yep. Yeah, it's so true.
It's annoying.
All right. So, moving on. Cam Akers.
6th pick.
6. So, now we're on to number 7. And
that was 6.
That was 6. Yep, on to 7. So here, hold on, I got. All right.
Mozambique, yeah.
There we go for our video game fans. we're streaming it on Twitch. We gotta throw some
Apex drops in.
So the next one we got is Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy on a lot of people's boards before they sat down and really looked at tape and did the analysis. He was the number 1 wide receiver on a lot of boards, just for the most talented guy going into the draft. He lands in Denver. So Jerry Jeudy was a guy that also when we were doing our kind of preparing for our rookie draft, he was going to be my first pick, over CeeDee Lamb. And then just the more I heard, the more I watched, the more I kept getting into things. I think his floor is higher than CeeDee, but I think his ceiling is also lower. So Jerry Jeudy, again, out of Alabama, he is very similar sized to CeeDee Lamb. He's 6'1", 193 pounds. CeeDee was 6'2", 198 pounds. There's really a lot of similarities when you look at the two of them. Jerry Jeudy, kind of his pros is he's a really smooth route runner is what you'll hear about him.
Right.
CeeDee, people like him a little more after the catch. But Jerry Jeudy goes to Denver. So here's the thing about Denver. Denver might be the most changed offense, like if you're watching things. They've got Drew Lock. He came in a little bit later in the year. He looked all right. Denver people are psyched. They want him to just be the next coming of John Elway. But they've wanted that with the last 15 quarterbacks that John Elway's tried to bring it. I
guess Peyton Manning was good.
They've got Vic Fangio. He was a former Bears defensive coordinator and now the coach there, and he is more of a defensive-minded guy. He really did a good job with the defense in Chicago. But again, not known for the air it out, throw it a million times a game.
Not known for his offense.
So one of the big worries with him is just it's going to be a low-powered offense. They're going to win with their defense. They're going to grind it out. They've got Cortland Sutton, who Cortland Sutton is a talented wide receiver. People have him as the wide receiver 1. I think Jerry Jeudy in a year or two could overtake him. I think he's going to get more targets. Cortland Sutton, he makes some really good catches, but it seems like a lot of them are contested. Like his separation isn't great, but he definitely makes some phenomenal catches. He's a talented guy.
His hand-eye coordination is insane. He can catch the ball from anywhere, but you're right. It looks cumbersome. It almost looks.
You don't see him make easy catches and just walk in that much.
No, not at all.
But again, so it's when you're watching, it's exciting. So you get to like him just for kind of the highlights. But
it's like
he
what
might
Kelvin
be a
Benjamin
better wide
should have
receiver
been.
too, or the second wide receiver on a team. Mike Williams is a guy who's like that too. I really like. He just makes phenomenal catches. You throw it to him, he catches it, but he just always looks like the guy is right on him in his face.
I know. He just needs the targets.
So again, I think Jerry Jeudy's going to get volume. They also drafted KJ Hamler, who we'll talk about maybe in the later rounds here. But also they got Noah Fant, who's a tight end who was drafted pretty highly. People like Fant.
Yeah.
And the other guy that they got was Melvin Gordon. They picked him up within free agency. Melvin Gordon catches the ball. He's he'll
on paper. If the quarterback's good, they have a high power offense.
There's a lot of pieces there. There's a lot of talent there, and they could be they could be great, or they could be kind of the Bears. They could be kind of the Browns. You know, they could
For sure.
just really thank goodness for the Browns, because otherwise the Bears would have been the most disappointing, like most underachieving team for expectations in all the NFL. So anyways, that's Jerry Jeudy. I would love to have him on my team. He's a guy that I might glance his way in a redraft league. And again, I think kind of the comp that I liked was T.Y. Hilton. I've heard some other comps, but that was the one that just from the things that I watched felt kind of.
So at 6, it's one of those, or even at 7 too. It's one of those like, I hope somebody before took him, because I have to take him there, and I don't necessarily love it.
See, now if I got him, you're saying at 7 or at 8?
At 6 or 7.
Oh, I'm pretty psyched, I think, if I get him there, because, again, he could become the best wide receiver out of this. Just, again, a lot of people.
For sure. I think at 7, 8, I think, you start getting to that bonus territory. But, yeah, like 5, 6, even 6, that's too early.
Okay. So, after Jeudy, we'll go on, and the next one that went off the board was wide receiver Jalen Reagor. I've heard it Reagor. I've heard it Reagor. I like Reagor. So until I hear otherwise, but he went to Philadelphia. So the thing about Philly is they've got a lot of wide receivers now. They picked up guys. They got Goodwin. They've still got Jackson. They've got Alshon. Alshon will probably start on the PUP, is kind of what I've heard from the latest reports out there. But Jalen, kind of the scouting report on him was like great athlete on a bad team. So his box scores don't blow you away. But, again, if they can develop him a little bit, people are excited about him. And he might have gone out of all the wide receivers to the best situation.
Correct. Yeah, he's kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I can trust him. I don't know if I can trust Carson Wentz. I don't know if I can trust the Eagles to throw the ball. Like, there's a lot of you don't knows. But if you just look at the stats, you're like, all these things look good. I would like a player on this team. If you compared A and B, they would win the battle, I think. So it's kind of a interesting spot and another uncomfortable one.
Now, you got to think that Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey are gone next year, right?
Both.
Okay.
I would think so.
So my hope...
That's if Deshaun Jackson makes it to the season.
Yeah, there's been some social media post stuff that he's done. He got in a little trouble, but... yeah, I think his health-wise it seems all right.
Yeah, for sure.
But if that's what you're referencing, I think that'll probably...
I agree. I think he'll be fine.
He'll be able to play. They still got Jaws, JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Is that just sunk cost at this point?
They've spent a little bit of draft capital on him last year. The report that I read was that he was injured all through last year, so maybe that was holding him back. But there's just little things like this that maybe if you're choosing between two guys, you take a glance at kind of the write-up on Jaws and see, maybe we'll get a couple targets.
Would you give up a second-round pick for Jaws?
No.
Would you go a third?
No, I'm waiting for Ethan to drop him after our draft. Scoop him up off the waivers.
That is exactly the thing that might happen.
Yes.
If Ethan makes all of his picks.
Well, Ethan, our buddy, like Nick, has like 7 picks. But
unlike, I guess he probably has players drop too. I was like, I got a lot of crap that I can get off my roster.
I just can't wait to scoop up all of Ethan's drops. I'm so excited.
If there's anything you can count on Ethan for, it's the wrong move.
Oh, yeah. Drop players. Yeah. All right. So Jalen Reagor, talented guy, good spot. You can take a chance on him. But, again, there is a chance that, maybe he gets into that higher competition and maybe he does struggle a little bit. So after Reagor, the next wide receiver off the board, again at the 1-9, is Justin Jefferson going to the Minnesota Vikings. I think he might be one of the guys you like. You might be eyeing. I
think he's one of the most polarizing players in the draft because I've seen people take him at 3, and I've seen people take him at 14. It's either buy in or you don't. If you have a truther in your league, then watch out. Otherwise, he may fall all the way out into the second round. I like him. I like the situation. I know they say he's not a perfect comp to Diggs, but it doesn't matter. Like, those targets have to go somewhere. I think they're going to throw the ball. I don't really trust Thielen as much as I did, 12 months ago or 18 months ago.
Yeah, Thielen had hamstring issues, which, again, they usually linger through the year, but they don't seem to hold on from year to year.
But he's not young anymore.
He's no spring chicken. You know, he's. I saw a report that they might move him to the outside a little bit more.
Yeah.
Some people are projecting Justin Jefferson to come in and take on that Stephon Diggs role. They traded away Diggs. What do you think about that? Are you?
Well, I said I think he more fits the Thielen role actually, according to most reports. So I think they might actually complement each other fairly well. And if he develops rapport with Cousins, I think that could be a very good situation.
Yeah, I don't know. You know who I think fits the Thielen role? Thielen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But.
The knock on him, though, is that the Vikings, they're more of a run team. They don't love to air it out. They got Kirk Cousins, who's accurate, but he's not a world beater as far as. Yeah, he is. He's
you like
Kirk
that?
Cousins. I always look at him at like the very end of drafts when I'm looking at quarterbacks. I'm like, I'll take a chance on like Drew Lock or
you don't want to start him, but you end up always losing to him.
Hard pass.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
But he's a good streaming option if you are doing streaming your quarterback in like a redraft league. Something like can't really do the streaming in Dynasty because all the quarterbacks are taken. They're off the waivers. You can't just pick them up. But.
Right.
So moving on after that, we've got Henry Ruggs, the first wide receiver taken in the NFL 2020 draft, goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. I just want to watch the Raiders so much. Like, I don't know that they'll be good at all, but I still want to watch it. I like Gruden, just characters.
There couldn't be a better pick for a good team than Ruggs, I feel like, late. I mean, it's if you're looking to top off a team that's already very good, why not throw like a wild card, speed demon that'll just, you don't know.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Yeah,
exactly.
but are you saying that the Raiders are a good team, or are you saying that they're not?
After what honestly, after the first pick, you're kind of dart throwing anyway. There's no guarantees in a rookie draft. You can see that year after year. They're mostly busts. But Ruggs has the characteristics to not bust, and he's going very late.
So a lot of people had Ruggs as like their third best wide receiver before the draft.
Right.
And then he goes to the Raiders who need wide receivers.
Right.
And he's now fallen down to like, that 8, 9, 10 kind of range. And it's Carr is a quarterback. He's, a little bit like guy we just talked about, Kirk Cousins, where he's like a good quarterback, but you don't feel psyched to have him as your team's quarterback, to have him as your dynasty quarterback.
He's been a Pro Bowl multiple times.
Do you like him? Do you want him? Like
I am very okay if he's my quarterback.
Okay, even as if he's your quarterback, throwing it to your fantasy wide receiver, who's Henry Ruggs.
I still think he can be a top 12 quarterback.
All right, and we've talked before, but give the people a little bit of insight into how much draft capital really seems to affect players like rookies.
It seems to be the biggest deciding factor. So if you look at any reports, I've gone through a bunch of reports on Reddit where if you just drafted players based off where they were drafted in the actual NFL draft, excluding quarterbacks, it almost predicts it 100% accurately. I mean, it's better than trying to predict it based off other characteristics after the draft.
Yeah, and again, I've heard some comps, but so probably the highest praise kind of comp is I think it was Gruden said he wanted to use him like Antonio Brown. So if you get Antonio Brown in the draft, you feel pretty psyched.
If you get
Antonio
60%
Brown
of
without
Antonio
the crazy,
Brown,
yeah, give me all the Antonio Brown without the crazy. But yeah, I think that I don't know. I kind of the comp that I saw when I looked at him was Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown, who was the first wide receiver off the board. He was a speedster. He wasn't the guy that everybody thought was the most talented wide receiver, but he was the fastest. I also heard a stat that, like, I forget the exact numbers, but out of the last however many combines, the fastest person to run the 40, the Raiders have taken like 6 out of 7
all
of
them.
Yeah, they just love the speed.
It's been a Raider tradition forever.
So, again, they should be fast.
Take the athletic freak and hope for the best. You take the Tyreek Hill of the draft and hope you get Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, but if the 110, if you can get the first wide receiver take into a team where he should he'll get volume. What kind of volume will it be? Will it be those high risk long passes? Will he,
if Ruggs is there when I have the 9 and 10 pick, he won't be there.
I think you have to take him at that point. And the guys that come up after him, we'll talk about. I don't like any of them a lot more than I like the ceiling of Henry.
This is kind of where it drops off. I feel like there's a very large shelf between here and the next couple players that we're going to talk about.
All right. So the next one, it is the 111 pick, and the projected player that went was Keyshawn Vaughn, running back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with new quarterback Tom Brady. And really the question is anybody going to get any touchdowns, or is Gronk just going to have them all, and he's just going to just many touchdowns?
Don't threaten me with a good time.
He's just going to spike. Like, will they be able to play on the field with all the holes from Gronk's spikes? You know?
Oh, my goodness. He is just going to truck people.
Oh, tell the people who you held on to all last year in our Dynasty League.
Oh, Gronk. Because Gronk.
It is the most fun player to own. Even if he's bad, it's just fun to like open your team and you're like, oh,
what is the first thing you thought when you saw the report? Gronk is coming back.
Nick,
you thought.
I didn't even think you were a genius. I was just like, that idiot's gonna be so happy.
Oh.
He's just gonna be like, just Gronk.
I was so thrilled.
So we'll see if he's good. Gronk's
So
an older man,
thrilled.
took a year off. He wears the last season that he played that we watched him. He had the biggest, most bulky arm brace on, and I feel like that really impeded his ability to catch.
No,
Have you ever seen a bigger brace on it?
That's how he trucks people. He leads with that.
He just holds it up and runs behind it,
just
like
gone.
Captain America's
It's like
shield.
it's like the Gibraltar's gun shield.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be that. So again, of all the teams that I want to watch, I think
this feels like a throwaway pick, though. No, you're like Tom Brady, Tampa Bay. I'm just gonna get this guy.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah, exactly. I don't like. I feel like it feels like a reach. Not that the next few players are jumping out at me, but I don't necessarily like this.
All right, if you feel it's a reach, I'll make the case for, and you make the case against.
Okay.
So Keyshawn Vaughn goes to Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and here's the big thing. So Ronald Jones is also on my dynasty team. Ronald Jones, people are coming along a little bit like maybe he can run, maybe he's not the worst player in the world, but again, he goes late in drafts, and the big knock on him is that he just doesn't have good hands. So I also heard a stat that he had was one of, if not the top, yards per catch for running backs.
Right.
But he just didn't have a lot of volume. So I don't know what the sample size was.
Not enough.
But he's Jordan Howard-esque in his ability to he just got that label of can't catch the ball. Maybe he can catch one now and then, but he just thinks about it. It's not smooth. So again, it sounds like Keyshawn Vaughn can catch. So if he goes in, Tom Brady's the guy who checks it down. He had James White, who is one of my favorites, who always just chronically underrated running back in the NFL, especially in PPR, because he can catch, and he just would give him little dunks, and they dink their way down the field.
I'd rather have James White than Keyshawn Vaughn.
Oh,
if James White was at the 11, I would take him.
Yeah, if James White decided just to jump on the Patriots going to Tampa Bay train, I would take him high. But Keyshawn Vaughn was a guy that one of the knocks is, again, you didn't hear a lot about him before the draft. Really what happened was I think people like his spot better than they like the talent of the guy. But he's going to be there. He's going to hopefully have some chances.
Biggest selling point is there's only one thing Tom Brady loves more than throwing to Gronk, and that's dumping it off to the running back. He loves to dump it off.
I don't know. Yeah, Tom
he loves to check it. He loves the out route. He loves anything where he can give it to a running back.
Well, Keyshawn Vaughn might be the guy. So he might get some catches, might get some touchdowns again. And I think one of the big things, too, is that people don't think Rojo is very good. So if you don't believe in Ronald Jones, then you got to believe it's going to be somebody.
I think with Godwin, you have Evans, you have Gronk. I think Ronald Jones is going to be good enough that they're not going to worry about trying to give somebody a workhorse role.
If Brady's still got it, they should be a high-powered offense because they have
I agree.
the talented pieces that you can, use.
So I guess it depends on if Keyshawn Vaughn's the touchdown guy, then he'll have value.
Gotcha. So again.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Maybe. But if you're going to shoot your shot, he's kind of...
That's why he's here.
Yeah, and he's maybe just starting the next tier of running backs. I would say that,
And this might go into, Cardinals football strategy of always drafting a pitcher. Just Always draft a running back.
Yep.
Just keep drafting running backs, and eventually you'll get good ones.
Yeah, and then also, again, depending on your team makeup, maybe you've got good wide receivers on your team and
Right.
you need a running back. That's probably definitely, again, the general consensus is that's the next best guy after those
Right.
kind of more talented
Well, and
players
again,
go off
the
board.
wide receivers here versus the wide receivers in 5 or 6 picks, the quality drop is minimal.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of kind of interesting, could be goods in the next one. So we'll finish up the first round. We have at the 112, Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver for Indianapolis Colts. So Pittman Jr., what I've heard is kind of the comp for him is Mike Williams. And it's interesting because Drew Brees comes over. So Mike Williams didn't have a great year last year, and it was a lot because I think he only had 3 touchdowns. He just didn't have a lot of touchdowns. He went from 10 or 11 the year before down.
And then he got hurt.
Yeah.
All types.
So he had some things. He kind of has little injuries throughout the year, but Michael Pittman Jr. is just a big guy, should be able to catch those contested catches. He kind of fits a role that the Colts, their other guys, so T.Y. Hilton, Paris Campbell, they're not the same type of wide receiver. So he could get some of those more kind of crossing and under routes. But again, I think that the talent of Michael Pittman Jr., most people agree on that he's just a good wide receiver, and he's going to a place where
it kind of still feels like too many cooks in the kitchen, though, doesn't it?
Well, T.Y.'s getting old, so let's say maybe you're trying to play for next year instead of this year. Again, let's say T.Y. leaves. Then who is it? It's Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman Jr., and then can you name the third guy? They got rid of Deion Kane, I think, and some other guys that were had some games where they were usable.
Zach Pascal.
Yeah, they weren't world beaters. So I think that as far as too many cooks in the kitchen, I think my fear would be more that just the Colts are going to be a team that runs the ball and they just win by pounding it with their phenomenal.
I agree.
Rookie.
I think with JT pounding the ball, and
their line,
and you already have a couple offensive weapons, that you can throw to. So I don't necessarily love the landing spot. I still like Paris Campbell too.
Yeah, and I traded for Paris Campbell in our dynasty. I got rid of Brandon Cooks and Jordan Howard. This was after Cooks was traded to the Texans, and I got a first and a second next year, and then I got Paris Campbell, I think.
I'd almost look to trade this pick to the Paris Campbell owner and say, hey, I'll trade you, the 112 for Paris Campbell and your 3rd round pick.
Yeah, and he's definitely one that's coming up as a name of a guy to watch, and somebody that, again, I think that the Colts, that'll be a team in redraft that I'm watching that first game of the season and seeing, like, who's out there, who's getting the ball thrown to them, how do they look. So, again, I'm excited for that. All right, let's see this. So that ends the first round of. We did just a 3-round draft, so we might take a little break right now.
Yeah, where do you think the key drops in value are? So like, where do you think there's a definite tier shift?
For the running backs, I think that after those first 5, after Cam Akers, then there's a big tier shift for the running backs. Where you got Keyshawn Vaughn. And then you got kind of the next round, Zach Moss, Antonio Gibson, A.J. Dillon. I think that's the tier break there. And then there might be like a smaller tier break between those next level and then the next ones that will go in the 3rd round. But a lot of them are they've got a chance. They might have an opportunity.
I think you're looking at CEH and JT almost seem like sure things. Like, they're going to be good.
Yeah, and then for the wide receivers, so we got CeeDee Lamb.
Where's the lamb?
Some people think that he's in a tier of his own. You could put Jerry Jeudy, though, in there with him.
This is Judge Judy.
So I think you got Lamb and Jeudy. And again, people
that sound drop is so clicky.
I took that sound drop straight from the Judge Judy opening. You can't find it on something.
We're just have to record a Jerry Judy.
This is Judge Judy. But again, I can't hear Jerry Judy's name without thinking of Judge Judy. I don't know if there are other people out there that can. And then after that, for the wide receivers, I don't think I'd put Ruggs up with those two. And again,
no, not at all. I think you're looking at 4 blue chip players. I think you got JT, CEH, Judy, and Lamb. I mean, I think those are your 4 safest blue chip, could be all-stars.
Yeah.
Right? And then
Dobbins I might throw in the group just because of
Dobbins
the next year.
Dobbins has a fighting chance. I think Akers as well has the next closest. I put them in the 1B or the 2nd tier.
And then out of all those, man, you could just see a world in which Ruggs is like a good NFL player, helps the Raiders, but just isn't great for fantasy. Or has boom bust games, like maybe has a game where he has 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then he has a week where he has like 1 catch for like 30.
Well, like you mentioned before, I think that like we spent first round capital on him. Gruden's gonna be like, let's get this guy the ball. He's gonna design so many plays just for him that
you don't take him as the first wide receiver off the board if you don't like him. They could have, and that's a lot of. I thought that maybe Jerry Jeudy would go to the Raiders, and I would have been excited. I would have been more excited for that.
I agree, 100%.
So it's interesting. You never know. Again, he was fast, so the Raiders said, "Hey, give me that speed.
Come on over."
So, anyways, yeah, I like all of them, but again, I think that. I agree with you as far as like the top, the blue chip guys, the highest ceiling kind of guys.
Right.
All right, you want to take a break?
Sure.
All right.
All right, Brittany and Lauren, we're done.
Yep. Just
That was enough.
Yep. So that was
How good does it sound? Does it sound very clear? And does the picture look good? Because it looks kind of fuzzy through here.
Yeah. So as we go forward, we'll keep working on the the picture quality, the sound quality, trying to get it as cleaned up as we can. Maybe camera angles, things like that. But again, for the first episode, we just wanted to get something on there. We're excited to talk about all this stuff. Just have some fun. And
I'm gonna stream marbles. Want to stream some marbles?
Not at all. But
What do you mean not at all?
I don't know which marble to take. I haven't done my in-depth research like in the fantasy football world. Always blue though, right? But yeah, we're gonna keep doing it. So if you want to like and subscribe, we're gonna keep trying to push out at least one a week, maybe more, depending on when we have time. And next one, we'll probably try and get through that second round of the rookie mock draft.
Indeed.
All right.